Seth Meyer. This is Late Night. We hope you're doing well. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. President Trump sat for an interview today with NBC News anchor Tom Llamas, or as he introduced himself to Trump, Tom Johnson. During his White House visit yesterday, Colombian President Gustavo Petro reportedly presented President Trump with chocolate and coffee. Well, I'm sure he ate the chocolate, but let's also hope he drank the coffee. During an Oval Office event on Monday, President Trump said that the Justice Department should stop releasing documents from the Epstein files. Well, of course he did. That's like Spirit Airlines saying I should stop releasing the monologue. It's because they know they're in it. During an Oval Office signing ceremony yesterday, President Trump promoted First Lady Melania Trump's new documentary and called her a, quote, movie star. All right, let's not go overboard. It's a documentary. It's not like those penguins got paid $20 million for their next picture. Calling their agents like, no, there's no work. There's no work. Can you do other birds? During an Oval Office signing ceremony yesterday, President Trump also criticized CNN reporter Caitlin Collins and said he never sees her smile. Oh, so she's his type. When asked on Monday about the Trump family's cryptocurrency company, President Trump said that his sons were the ones who brokered a deal to sell an equity stake to an investment firm tied to the United Arab Emirates for $500 million. If you want to know how many zeros that is, 2. The Smithsonian's National Zoo this week welcomed an elephant calf after a 21-month gestation, which weighed more than 300 pounds at birth. So good luck to the father ever winning an argument again. Maybe she'll forget. A 90-year-old English teacher in Michigan set the Guinness World Record this week for longest career in the classroom after teaching for 67 years. And this is exciting. She earned 3 vacation days. A hospital in France was evacuated recently after a male patient allegedly arrived with a World War I artillery shell in his rectum. Wow, I mean, I know men tend to put off doctor's visits, but that's just crazy. So it happened during World War I, and he just went to the doctor. I was lying on my belly in the foxhole. And finally, a New Jersey man was arrested at Miami International Airport over the weekend after authorities found more than 80 pounds of a cannabis concentrate product in his luggage. But how else was he supposed to get through the flight? See, I told you! That was a monologue, everybody. Got a great show for you tonight. You know her from hit shows such as The Big Bang Theory and The Flight Attendant. She's starring in the limited series Vanished, which premieres this week on MGM+. Kaylee Cuoco is back on the show, everybody. He's one of our favorite guests, one of the funniest people I know. Our friend James Acaster is back as well. But before we get to that, Donald Trump is reportedly skipping the Super Bowl because he's afraid to get booed and threatening to seize control of elections after a string of major losses. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. The Super Bowl is on Sunday, and if there's one thing we know about Donald Trump, it's that he loves football. A few months ago, he made a guest appearance in the booth during an NFL game where he was asked which New York football team he likes, and he picked both.
So I love the Jets, and I love the Giants. I had a lot of friends, Bob Tisch and some people that owned the Giants at the time, as we're going along and progressing. And, you know, look, we had a couple of Super Bowls with the Giants. The Jets have been having a little bit of a hard time.
A little bit of a hard time is the nicest possible way to describe the last 50-plus years of the Jets. Things have been a little bit bumpy since 1969. They got a little thrown by the moon landing and haven't fully bounced back. Also, Trump lies about everything, but even he can't lie about the Jets. I'd love to say the games are rigged, but we can all see with our eyes they're not. There's no fraud. And we looked. I had Rudy go down to MetLife Stadium and check the footballs to make sure they weren't deflated. Unfortunately, we found him wandering around a Gristedes squeezing a ham.
Boss, there's something off with this football. It's not kosher.
Once Trump was done giving out the hard truths about the Jets, he went right back to lying about how great things are.
We're doing great, and recruitment is doing phenomenally. People have spirit. Our stock market hit an all-time high. Prices are coming down. We inherited a mess. Prices are coming way down.
First of all, prices are not coming down. That would be deflation. Even if the rate of inflation slows down, it's still inflation, which means prices are going up. Also, why the are you making me think about this during a football game? I don't want to do economics. I want to drink a beer and yell at the TV while my wife asks me where our kids are. Lady, I don't know. Given Trump's love of football and attention, you might have expected him to show up at the Super Bowl on Sunday, especially since he was at last year's Super Bowl. But the president has decided the trip will be too arduous.
President Trump tells the New York Post he won't be attending this year's Super Bowl in San Francisco, saying it's too far away.
It's too far away. You know you have your own plane, right? Like, we weren't expecting you to pile into a station wagon with Eric, Don Jr., and Melania. All right, everyone, we got a full tank of gas, a bag of cassette tapes, and for snacks, Mom has a cooler full of Melania Pops, a mean ice cube on a stick. But Trump's excuse doesn't track. This is the same guy who has now done multiple trips to the Middle East and Asia, but San Francisco is too far away? Or was it because you're worried they won't give you a dumb gift for making the trip? Because we know you love a dumb trip gift.
The US president is in South Korea this hour. Donald Trump was presented with one of the country's highest honors. He also received a lavish gift, a replica of an ancient crown.
Takaichi, even at this bilateral meeting, we saw her gift Trump a golf club. She also gifted him a golden golf ball.
Saudi Arabia had a McDonald's mobile truck. Look at that thing.
That's what I call hospitality.
Everywhere he goes, they have to give him a crown and McDonald's like it's his 5th birthday. I bet he's lying in bed right now with the covers pulled up to his eyes saying, "Maybe I'll go to San Francisco if they let me drive the trolley." No one ever let me drive it. I'd be good at trolley. So Trump claims he can't make it to the Super Bowl because it's too far away, but I wonder if there's another reason he might not want to attend a football game in the current political climate.
Football fans could be heard booing President Trump during his appearance at the Lions and Commanders game. The crowd loudly booed as Trump was introduced and shown on the Jumbotron during halftime. He was there to swear in new military members.
I am saying your name.
Okay, but in fairness, it was woke night at the stadium. And what a night it was. The theys beat the thems 31-27. But of course, as much as the Trump might want to blame the wokes, the reality is he knows how unpopular he is right now, not just with the wokes, but also with the waking ups, the still groggies, and even the sound asleeps. In recent months, several aides and advisors to the president quietly determined that the chances were rather high of Trump getting booed big league at the Super Bowl. In the words of one White House official, oh yeah, did they crunch the numbers and calculate that the odds of Trump getting booed were high? Did he have his best data nerds running complex algorithms? Mr. Trump, we've been up all night cross-referencing the demographics of San Francisco and the residents of Seattle and New England, along with the demographics of people who are, quote, Bad Bunny super fans. And here's what the computer spit out. Of course, Trump is worried about getting booed. His approval ratings have been at all-time lows, and his party's getting shellacked everywhere, even in deep red states like Texas.
Democrats picked up a stunning victory in a special election runoff for a Texas state Senate seat. Taylor Ramett flipped the solidly red Senate District 9, which represents Fort Worth and some surrounding suburbs, defeating Republican Lee Wambsgans by 14 points. It's a part of Tarrant County, where no Democrat has won a state Senate seat since 1978.
This was a district that Donald Trump won by 17 points in 2024. The Democratic candidate in the special election on Saturday, won it by 14 points. That's an over 30-point shift to the left. Democrats are doing, get this, 12 points better 12 points better than Kamala Harris did in 2024.
This has been true for 10 years. It's what we here at Late Night call the Trump paradox. The only way to beat Donald Trump is to first lose to Donald Trump. It's the only way. He runs for president, says, if I win, everything will be awesome. And people say, oh my God, I like the sound of awesome. And then he wins and everything sucks. And then people say, oh, I don't like this at all. And then they vote against him. And the pattern just repeats itself forever and forever until the sun swallows the earth or the Jets win the Super Bowl, whichever comes first. Also, I just want to say I love getting my news from a New Yorker. This guy talks about elections like he's standing in front of a cab in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Hey, hello, I'm talking about poll numbers here. So the midterms are looking very bad for Republicans, which is why Trump has a new strategy. Instead of winning people over by doing things they like, just seize control of elections.
New comments from President Trump are adding to concerns among Democrats that he may try to interfere with this year's midterm elections. Speaking on a conservative podcast, Trump suggested Republicans take over the voting in multiple states.
The president made these new comments about the election process during an appearance on the podcast of his former FBI deputy director, Dan Bongino.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are so crooked, and they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win. You know, like the 2020 election. I won that election by so much. Everybody does it.
This is such a sign of how dumb and weird everything is. Not the president is threatening to seize control of elections, but that he's doing it on a podcast. And it's not just any podcast. It's a podcast hosted by his former deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino, a guy who promised to expose the truth behind the Epstein scandal, then said there was no truth to expose, then quit. Then we found out there was so much to expose, and then he just went right back to being a podcaster. The fact that anyone gives this guy any credibility is a reminder the Trump world just wants to be told what they already believe. He should host a podcast called It's Not Your Fault You Can't Get Laid, Dude, You're a Catch. Trump's agenda on virtually everything, from the economy to immigration to the Epstein scandal, is wildly unpopular. His approval rating has been at all-time lows, and he can't even show up to a football game without being booed. Much like his beloved Jets, he's having
a little bit of a hard time.
This has been a closer look.